Nope, 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 nope. Oh, that was a rough idea. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Moto. And while I spend a lot of time reviewing cars, something I appreciate about motorcycles is their connection from the rider to the machine. That's my test car right now for this week here in June of 2026. That's the new Chevrolet Bolt. It's an electric vehicle. It's fantastic for commuting. It uses barely any energy to get you and a few people around on a day-to-day basis. It's got 3 different screens in it. It's got sensors all around. It costs about $30,000. This came out before GM had even done their very first prototypes of their very first EV1 electric vehicle back in the 90s. This is about as old school as you can get, and 2025 is going to be the last model year of it. This is the Honda XR650L, sporting a single-cylinder, air-cooled 644cc engine that is right there. No sort of electronics or rider aids whatsoever. We've got a carburetor, we've got a throttle, we've got brakes, disc at least, and that is it. That is how this machine has come to us here for the last 30 years. And today, I'm going to see if what we're missing out on here going forward on the new motorcycle market here in the United States of America. If you do want to see a little bit more on the bike, check the link below for kind of my first impressions. DM commuter test. We test the fuel economy, go out and ride in sort of a real world city sort of scenario. But it would be a crime to not get this bike out on some dirt. So that's exactly what I'm going to do today. But we're not going to treat it exactly like a dirt bike. We're going to treat it like an ADV bike, because a lot of what you'll read about this motorcycle, whether it's in the YouTube comments or on forums or Reddit or whatever it be you, will be people throwing it praises and saying, oh man, it's such a fantastic motorcycle, it's dead reliable, bulletproof, it'll last you through the apocalypse. I wish I could go buy 3 of them. But we've come a long, long way in the way that I would rather commute in that car than my 1997 Ford van that's out on the street, or my 2006 E46, or my other Ford van, or any of the cars I've owned. Just how that is a better commuter. Do we have better adventure bikes here in 2026? The answer is probably yes. But what is it like? What is it like to go out and do a full day of riding here on this XR650L? So that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to throw the rest of my gear on. We've already got the engine warmed up. Last time I made a huge mistake. Oh, why don't you let the bike warm up beforehand? Don't worry, it's all ready for our ride. No sort of bags on the XR today. I could have put a generic tail bag on it, but I just threw everything in my H-Move backpack from Helite. Got my water carcass going in there, so should be good for a full day of hydration and safety. I've got my earplugs in because we're going to be doing about an hour of highway. And that's the reality we live in here in Southern California. Some fantastic driving and riding roads all around us, but you got to drive about an hour minimum to get to them. So theoretically, that's what you want to plate a dual sport for, right? So that I don't have to spend time and fuel and energy loading this into the truck. There it is. Right to life with no choke. Ooh, she's a little tired though. And we are off. What's our time of departure here? 1:40. We should be on the trails hopefully about 2:40 or so. Okay. Pretty high seat height, 37 inches before the suspension compresses, which means I am sitting up tall on the street here. I can see around people very easily. Also gives us a whole lot of suspension travel. 13 inches of ground clearance. I think the suspension is something like 11 or 12 inches of travel as well. Should be pretty significant. 2.8 gallon fuel tank. I know a lot of people who own these bikes start to farkle them up and put aftermarket tanks on there that have a lot more range, but we're going to be a tad limited today because of that. And of course, no sort of fuel gauge. So we've got a 0.6 gallon reserve. Should give us about 30 or 40 miles depending on how we're riding if we putter out. But plenty of grunt from this engine. Something around just over 40 horsepower at the crank is what I've been able to find. Obviously making less than that once it fully gets to the wheel. Honda doesn't publish horsepower figures for this bike, but it's plenty. It's a gutsy motor, it's powerful, but oh boy, do you always feel this engine. It's a big piston flopping back and forth in there. You can only counterbalance it so much. You still got those secondary forces you're dealing with. It's crude, it really is, and I don't know how tired I'm going to be of that by the end of this ride, but it's like a sledgehammer. Also, no wind protection from the factory. Obviously, you could put some sort of windshield on here, but as we have it from Honda, nothing. But plenty of power and speed. Getting up about 80 miles per hour indicated, no problem up with traffic. Oh, and here we go. Settle in for the next hour. I don't know if I'm going to regret this or not, but I think we'll really find out on our way home. Now, if you live in an area of the civilized world, such as California, where you can legally lane filter, just know that the handlebars are pretty wide here on the XR. So you're going to have to be careful of mirrors. And then also the gap between first and second gear is awkwardly large. So if you're slowing down here, traffic's coming to a crawl. I don't want to be buzzing these guys' mirrors off, so I'm slowing down as well. Now we're down in second. And you'll get to a point where second is lumping a little bit. And you're like, all right, well, I need to come down into first. Well, then first whirs way up. It's a little awkward. I'm curious how that's going to be for off-roading. All I know is that lower speed traffic situations like this, it can get a little frustrating. That wraps up just under an hour of highway. It's survival out there. I mean, it's certainly not like a big windshield sort of bike, a bunch of power and big comfy seat where you can chew away hours and barely notice it type of thing. If you're okay with traveling more about 65 miles per hour and ideally following some cars, then that draft could really help and takes an edge off of all the wind that's blowing at you. The seat, I don't really mind too much. It's actually got a decent amount of squish on it as it comes from the factory here. The general rider triangle, though, you can tell is more oriented for off-road riding. I mean, I'm a little bit cramped. Despite this being such a large dual sport motorcycle, I feel a bit cramped. I find myself actually utilizing the rear passenger pegs on some of the highway sections just as a different place to put my feet. So, I'm going to top this thing off with fuel since I have no idea how much we used. I assume at least over a gallon, 60 miles at highway speeds. I also failed to set my GPS, so we're going to pull into the gas station here. We're going to get everything set, refueled, ready for the off-road stage of our ride today. No locking fuel cap here on the XR. You just twist it off. You do have an overflow hose that you can kind of hang to the side there. Of course, 87 octane for this low compression ratio engine. One of the cool things about a bike like this is if you owned it, you kind of learn your machine. You learn your steed. If I were riding this all the time, I would know, okay, cruising on the highway, about every 50 miles I'm using roughly a gallon of fuel. So I would know, okay, every 100 miles or so, I'm going to have to stop and fill up at highway speeds. And then you kind of learn the bike that way. And then eventually you'd learn how much it uses at off-roading, and then at city speeds. And then, you just get to know your bike a little bit more, and you build that relationship with it. I think that's kind of cool. So we're going to check out a few different trails today. And I don't know, it's going to be some pretty raw adventuring today and exploring. Shouldn't be any too hardcore trails, I don't think. Oh, it is just such a big seat, though. I'm not a huge person by any means. I'm about 5'10", 32-inch inseam, and comfortable when I'm up on the bike, but moving it around parking lots or something like that, just got to be ready. And I am a bit torn regarding if I would put a phone mount on this bike, because on one hand, you've got no sort of tech in front of you. So no clock, clearly no mapping or anything like that. Which is, in a way, inconvenient. But in another way, it's actually kind of refreshing and nice because you just get freed of all of that. So I kind of like that my phone's not in front of me. I'm not seeing notifications or anything like that. It's a very raw, simple, stripped back experience. But then again, it would be kind of nice to know what time it is and be able to see my map a little bit here. But it takes you back to a different type of riding. There it is. That's a trail. Okay. Oh, that's so wild. And we are running stock tire pressures, which I believe 22 psi front and rear. And already I'm realizing I need to pop open my vents here. Obviously, if you were riding primarily off-road, you might want to drop them tire pressures a little bit, but since we're doing dual sport riding here, leave them be. Yeah, if I get to any real technical slow speed areas, I'm gonna have a little bit of a tough time with this tall bike. I would rate myself as a novice to intermediate dirt rider. I'm decent in sand. I'd put myself as intermediate in sand, closer to novice on more tight, twisty technicals. Part of it also just comes down to how I like to ride. I just prefer to ride slower off-road. I'm not a big high-speed off-road kind of guy. Well, again, I guess in the sand I like to go fast, but trail I like to take it easy. A little more of a sightseeing sort of guy. We do have a fairly aggressive street legal tire on the XR, so I'm not too worried about traction. Again, we are dealing with that awkward spacing between first and second right now. You can hear I'm in first gear, especially because we're climbing, but I don't dare grab second because it would drop the revs dramatically. And also being the 5-speed gearbox, I honestly don't mind it much on the street. However, I am worried about not kind of having that tractor gear like you do in some of the other more modern dual sports, where you can just kind of walk it up a hill practically. But I guess with the tall seat height, you're not really walking this bike much anyway. Ooh, and we are getting a little bit warm. For our gear check, we are donned in our ADV gear from Revit. So I got the off-track jacket, the boundless boots, Ortez jeans, and dirt gloves. I like this set because pretty much anything I ride, it works. If I'm riding street, if I'm riding off-road, if I'm riding sport bike, adventure bike, dual sport, cruiser, it all kind of fits. And for a ride like today, the padding gives me protection when I'm on road, and then should be giving me some protection off-road here too. I might need to open up some vents at some point. Also, I need to turn off my airbag. Standing up, you can do pretty comfortably here. Again, I'm not a huge person, but handlebars are a little low, but overall decent. I mean, it feels very dirt bikey. And now that we are getting off-road, kind of appreciating that. Suspension is working well. I don't think we're going to be getting airborne today, but for this type of adventure riding, it's working nicely. Ooh, yeah, big and cushy. 346 pounds fueled and ready to ride. I'm not super keen on having to pick this bike back up, but still lighter than a lot of your adventure bikes out there, so if they can do it, I can too, right? Right? I will say the suspension has really given me the confidence to take some of these bigger ruts head on as opposed to trying to shirk around them like I would on one of the smaller dual sports. The bike just doesn't really get upset. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, ride it up. There we go, baby. Yeah. Okay. The trail's really opened up here along this mountain crest, and I'm having a great time. I really am. I'm loving the suspension, the tires. Yeah, I could go for something a little more aggressive, but you can't have it all right, or then we'd be buzzing on the highway super loud. But mostly I'm just having a good time being out here. Ooh, and right when I say that, we get a big old rutted section. Getting a little more comfortable with the bike, kind of learning where its traction limits are. It's nice having that little extra grunt, but I gotta say, it's not like when I was up in this neck of the woods on the XR650L, I was really lacking power. I mean, I'm only doing 20 right now and slowing down between kind of 10 and 25 range. The 300 provided plenty of guts. It's the suspension where I'm really appreciating the XR over the CRF, and obviously you can remedy the CRF suspension pretty well. You can't necessarily get all the travel that we have on this one, but with modern shock technology, you can get it pretty good. The clutch and brake levers are both non-adjustable, and they are a little far away. So I find myself having to reach way out there, and that does mildly affect my confidence as well in kind of coming into some of these corners. Okay, I gotta reach up for the brake or the clutch just a little bit further. It's a bit tougher to just kind of rest my two fingers and cover one of them. But gosh, when this trail isn't rutted out and I can kind of see a little ways and keep up a little bit of speed, this thing is just great. I can get comfortably into second gear and just really let the big cushy suspension do its job. It's not technical, it's just smooth. Tubed tires, so something to keep in mind if you're doing a lot of off-roading like this and riding where there's going to be rocks. Everyone's going to have their opinion on which they'd prefer, but that's what you're dealing with here on the XR. Went a little bit more of a lower elevation, opened up area now. I'm really having fun on the XR. You'll have to apologize, I took the microphone out of my helmet for a little while here to my face arrest, so the audio is going to sound a little different, but yeah, real rocky section that we've been going through here, and yet XR is eating it up. Again, I'm getting comfortable with the bike's getting comfortable with me. Woo, there's a little bit of air. I was wrong, we did get a little air off the bike today. We've popped down out of the mountain foothills and into the desert, which means we are encountering sand for the first time on the XR150. And I gotta say, it's not a huge fan. Now, most street legal dual sport tires just really aren't going to do great in the sand. You gotta ride totally differently, and it's just kind of a different experience altogether. But it's a lot of weight with the XR, and that front tire does like to wash out. So I'm going to try to have some fun, but might have to learn to dance with it a little bit different. I gotta say though, my confidence with the bike has increased so dramatically throughout the day, and you know, dirt biking is a little bit like that. If you've gone a while without riding dirt, you're kind of used to street riding and everything, it sort of takes you a minute again to get your sea legs, if you will. But getting right back into it here. It's windy up here. Some of you all might recognize this trail if you're more veteran riders here in Southern California. This is going across just west of the Cajon Pass. I'm sure there's an official name for the riding area, but I putzed around on the east side of this trail with my YZ450F and the XR650L a while back. So I kind of wanted to, if it worked out today, I wanted to loop back around this way, and it looks like it is working out. It does seem like there's some fantastic single trail that goes along the side of this 2-track. I don't want to get myself in a situation where I'm trying to ride that single track and am not able to. It's rated fairly difficult, and I'm just, you know, it's a big heavy bike. I'm not a super veteran rider, especially in the sand, so I think we're gonna just stick to the 2-track here. Nothing wrong with that. Something I have kind of enjoyed is the fuel burn. When you're just idling down on the XR, you can kind of hear it popping, burning off that unburnt fuel, or it's the unburnt fuel burning off in the exhaust. It's just kind of fun. Adds a little bit of character to the bike. Oh boy, here we go. Oh, that does look fun though on that single track. Do we try it? Do we go up there? Fuck it. Let's see what happens. What is that saying? No, what? No motor vehicles? Is that what that said? But it looks like a motor vehicle. There's clearly been motor vehicles up here. Here I am trying to be a good noodle. Now we gotta turn the bike around. No motor vehicles. Beyond the sun. Close to motorized equipment vehicles. Well, that sure is misleading. Oh! And here's those situations, again, just the slower trail where my feet aren't touching, so I'm, you gotta be a decent rider. Either that or just really tall. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the XR does not like the sand, man. Does not like the deep sand. It does look fun. Do we try it? I feel like we got to try it, you know? And if we get into a situation, then it just makes us stronger. We're gonna try this little section here. If it's super awful, then never again. Okay, it's sandy. I think that's gonna be our biggest deterrent, is the sand. It's just so soft. We've got those full dirt bike tires, chewing it all up. Okay, but we did it. Oh, fuck. We did it. That's kind of cool. Oh, fuck me. Nope, 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 nope. Woo. Woo. Oh, that was a rough idea. Oh, and we're still committed. Okay. All right. Holy shit. Well, we're still committed. We gotta go. Whew. Come on, baby. think we're gonna survive. Oh, that was fun, but that was scary, that one section. It was just so soft and so steep. It's just a lot of weight. I mean, I've probably got an extra 100 pounds on those bikes that just came through here. Yeah, better tires, lighter bike, or better rider. And, you know, you'd be totally fine through there. I'm just not looking to white knuckle it for the rest of the day. That's funny. So we're gonna have to repeat a bit of trail, but we will live to tell the tale. The thing is, though, is the XR, it did do it. And if I came around some sort of corner and had no choice but to ride something like that, like I just did, it just requires, again, rider mod, better rider, to make it happen. And I did it. I stepped up to the challenge. It's just not fun. And that's the thing that you really need to consider about this bike finally being done with here in 2026. Think about something like a KTM or Husky, something with that 501 motor. You could throw a plate on there, they make them plated, and it's practically a full-on modern dirt bike for the street. So you could, oh boy, you got the power to do the highway, you got the power to have fun in the desert or anything, but then you got so much less weight as well. And yeah, you got to pay a few $1,000s more sticker price to get the bike, and it's going to take a little more maintenance, maybe not be so dead reliable, but if you're serious about going out here and having fun off-road, you want to shed that weight and you want to be able to have the power. This makes power, but not like those bikes are going to make. And if the power is not that important to you, you got the CRF. Then at least you have the reliability and the lower cost and, you know, the Honda factor. These hills look a little more manageable. Do we do it? Yeah, fuck it. Let's go one more time. We didn't learn our lesson the first time, right? At least this way we don't have to worry about side-by-sides. That's really getting rough now, and the suspension, again, it's competent, it's comfortable, it's not fast, it's not responding and rebounding in the way that I would like, but it is absorbing the bump, so it's doing half the job there, and it's doing that half really well. And again, that 1-2 gear spacing is just so dang awkward, because I'm coming around these corners and I'm just digging so low, but then if I were in first, I'd be running into the top of it. I'm impressed by the XR off-road. I am. I'm satisfied with it. I don't want, it's not begging me to do more. It's going through the motions really, really well, and sometimes that's all you need and all you want, but a lot of times here with modern bikes, you can get more than that now. I mean, we're talking about a 30-year-old formula. A lot of it still works, but it's not excelling. We got a good bit of riding to go. We got to take a trail all the way down, scoot, 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 and then you see this spits out way down there onto the 15 freeway. We're going to take that. I think we're going to head back home after this. I don't think there's too much more adventuring I want or need to do. Maybe I'll take a little bit of a run up some of those roads, heading up toward the other side of the mountain pass there. But I think we're gonna wrap up pretty soon. I've been riding now. Let's see, we left at 1:40. It's 4:40. 3 hours. 3 hours with a backpack on my back full of water and an XR650 full of heritage. Seat's still comfortable. I'll give it that. I am catching these dirt bike boys though, so, you know, like I said, a little bit of rider mod, that can help. It is fun. I mean, there's no arguing against that. And if you have yourself an XR650L, don't be afraid about what it can do. I mean, you can go out, probably do a lot more than you realize. This was a great little trail to end on because, like I said, I've been out here before on a few other bikes, and this is hanging right with them. One of those being the CRF300L, and gosh, is this taking the bumps a whole lot better. I think it's been smoothed out since the last time I was here. I remember some bigger whoops when I was on those other bikes, but man, I am really appreciating all the suspension travel. And now, while those dirt bikes load up into their truck, I will simply continue on the road and head home. The only thing I will do is stop to throw my earplugs in, turn the airbag on, and continue on our way. Oh boy, all sorts of activity going on here today. Shenanigans, I tell you. Shenanigans through and through. And because we are riding the bike back home as opposed to the truck, I'm gonna get to lane filter through all this traffic up here. So I might even make dinner. We just hit our fuel reserve with 78 miles on the tank. Going here on the highway, and also the bike started puttering out. So pulled in the clutch, pulled off to the side. Was able to actually hold the clutch with my left hand and switch the fuel reserve with my right. Now, can we make it home on, what was it, 0.6 gallons? I don't know about that one. I don't think I should push it. I've been running kind of fast, admittedly. Kind of just keeping up with traffic, getting home here still. I might pull off, splash a little fuel in here, continue on our way. The alternative is I could just go slow, I suppose. Just kind of cruise 60, 65 behind semi-trucks and traffic. That'd probably make it home just fine. Oh, I do like being able to kind of stand up, shake it out a little bit while you're riding. Stopped off and got fuel. Interesting, we only put 1.8 gallons back into the tank. So I don't know if the bike needs to be stood up all the way in order to get all of the fuel in there, or what the deal was, but it's supposed to be able to go 2.1 gallons for reserve. So yeah, either way, got ourselves back here to Orange County, no problem. Fighting a lot of headwind, so my neck is tired. That's a big thing. It's, yeah, I mean, you can cruise no wind 65 miles per hour on this bike pretty easy and stuff, but get yourself out in an open area, get some headwind going, try to keep up with traffic. It gets tiring on these full dual sports like this. So big advantage to having at least some sort of wind protection to help your body out. But coming off the highway, this is going to be wrapping up. What are we at? I think we're about 5 hours or so, 4.5 to 5 hours non-stop on the XR650L. I had fun with it. I can't deny that. However, it is very interesting to live and experience what everybody says about this motorcycle. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've considered one of these as a bike. I ended up landing on a Suzuki V-Strom 650 back in the day when I was buying my last motorcycle, but the XR650L is something that came up in consideration a few times in terms of a bike that could do it all, if you will. And what everybody says online is, if you're going to be doing more off-road than on, then this is a great choice, but it's not really an on-road sort of bike. And it's not that I fully agree with that. I mean, I get it. I get where that idea comes from. I don't mind riding this bike on the street. I really don't. It's actually kind of fun and refreshing. Again, you sit up high, you're looking over traffic, it's gutsy, it's comfortable, it takes all the road imperfections well, it's got a big squishy seat. So I don't really mind it as an around town sort of bike. The highway, it's a little tough, but honestly, pretty much any bike without a windshield and with a big engine like this is going to be tough at highway speeds. There's just not too much getting around it there. But when I was riding around on the back roads, country roads and everything here on this bike, I was having fun. It's got grunty power, you know, it's got some character to it. All of that being said though, I get why this bike is done. I really do. I don't want this review to be one of those where it's like, why are they getting rid of this? Oh, it's terrible. I mean, this bike deserves to be sold forever. Come on, guys. You gotta admit that modern motorcycles do so much more better than this XR650. It's fun. It's cool. I would totally consider picking one up for $3,000 used and then just, you know, having a little beat around kind of bike. But you can't tell me that going out and spending $8,000, is that what this is listed for after destination and everything, about $8,000 or so on this motorcycle, when you can go out and get so many other bikes from Honda or others for that same or similar price that are going to be either more powerful, better off-road, better on-road, more fuel efficient. This is not even really a jack of all trades bike. It's kind of a nine of all trades. I will give it the credit where it's due for off-road. I loved how much clearance I had, the suspension travel. I really didn't mind the height, especially once we were, oof, that was close there. Yeesh. I didn't mind the height once we were moving and, you know, got comfortable with the bike, doing good speeds and everything. But everything I did today, I could have done on, gosh, of course I could have done it on the CRF300L. I could have done it on the new KLE 500, for gosh sakes, and I think that bike costs about just as much and would be a lot better at highway speeds. So let's get this thing back. Oh, I'm gonna stretch out my butt and wrap up my final thoughts. That is one thing, is this darn strap right here in the middle of the seat is the only thing keeping it from being pretty gosh darn comfortable the whole day. I get why that strap exists, but I would remove it. And there are plenty of people on our street right now. So, over 30 years since the XR650L hit North American streets, and I guess probably streets all around the world. It's a great story. It really is. It's a cool bike. I just realized my camera's probably super dusty after all that following of people on the trail. Let's wipe this off a little bit. Get you guys. It's not even really fair to call this a big pig anymore because it's white. Maybe if you had one of the older red ones, I get it. I get it. It's cool. I get the appeal, but I understand why we're saying goodbye to this bike. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the XR650L, check the link below. We might squeeze in one more comparison or something like that while we have the bike. We've got that DM commuter fuel economy test as well. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, ride on.